Ayo, Cutter B, his favorite line. I love it. Happy Friday, guys. Welcome. It's the end of another exciting week here. We're wrapping up the trade week. Headlines are a little light this morning, but we got some stuff built for you. Good stuff. Going to talk about some tractor sales. Going to talk a little cattle, export flash. Connor B, Judge Judy show here later today. And we'll review the premiums. Had a good week of premiums here. So excited to be here. Thanks for joining ATI Pro Media Premium. Well, we're not premium content. ATI Pro Media, we're powered by Advanced Trading. Welcome to the show. I got new toys to play with, but let's go to the ranch and look at your markets here this morning. Let's check into where they're at. Beast corn down, or March corn, we're down 3/4 of a cent. Gosh, I got to get rolled over into the new year. March corn down 3/4 of a cent, 443. Beans, Jan beans down 7, 988. Ugh, yikes. On the wheat side of front, Chicago wheat down 2 1/4, 556. KC wheat down a penny and 3/4. Gosh, that's depressing. Feeder cattle, they're green. So we got some Christmas colors on the screen here. Green on the feeders, up 27 points on January, up 600 points on live cattle, and hogs are ticking back up 12.5 to 25 points here. Looking over at energy markets, crude's up 73 points, diesel up 2, nat gas down 11. Gosh, nat gas is trading everywhere. But looking over at the Dow, your equities, the Dow weakness continues down 78 points, while the Nasdaq's up a 215 points, and your S&P up 13. Let's bring in my guest, bring in my buddy, my pal, Connor B. Come on into the show. Welcome to the stage, Connor B. Welcome, Connor B. Got the new toys. I love it.
The sounds never fail to make me laugh. I gotta ask, what's my favorite quote? Is that what do I actually say that?
Ayo, you go. I've heard you say it.
I think I do.
I don't know. Maybe I
don't even realize I'm doing it anymore. But yeah, so well, let's have a Friday, right? I'm sure gonna have a fun and interesting Friday, I guess. But we talk about light headlines. I got to think going into the Christmas season, right? It seems like a lot of people are checked out. Markets are no different, right? So we'll see what next week brings. We do have a Fed meeting, right? We'll be paying attention to that. Everyone's expecting a rate cut. But, once we get in that Christmas season, we know that the holiday trade, right? We know that term. So, but let's jump into the headlines we got, Brady.
Yep. All right. This one caught my attention here this morning. Association of Equipment Manufacturers. It's a depressing headline, but it's a true headline. Tractor sales down 13.4% year to date. Combine sales down 24% year to date here.
Wow.
Yeah. Just interest rate slowdown in the ag economy kind of highlights both of those factors there. But I go ahead.
We knew it. We've talked about the John Deere layoffs. We know how the farm economy is right now. But to see combine sales down 25% a quarter year on year it still is unbelievable to me, Brady.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hopefully that turns around here. I'm glad we're not in the equipment sales business today. Thankful of that for sure. But definitely ag economy. Positive news, bright side, Connor B, export flash. What do we have today? 200,000 metric tons of beans to unknown. Let's go.
Destinations. Yep, we'll take it. Continue to see the unknown, right? And I really wonder if it's not, we're going to know in hindsight where we see, where we see the exports go. But I really wonder with China, we know they're not buying corn, soybeans as much as they have in previous years. Are we more spreading the love, right? Are we seeing maybe more go to some of those, are we seeing more go to Japan, Korea, right? And maybe that'll come reflected in an unknown destination. Maybe it's China, right? Who knows? We talked about that unknown destinations, why they can put that on flash sales, but always interesting. And again, we'll take all the flash sales we can at this time.
Keep them coming. That's the time of year to take advantage of export demand. It's demand season. Keep them coming here. Speaking of demand season, feeder cattle index jumped yesterday on Wednesday's data. Each day we get the daily print of feeder cattle index. Let's see if I can pull that in here. Look at this here. Maybe if it comes up. Okay, this is Wednesday's data. Interesting to me. I wanted to highlight this. Net change up $1.61 on Wednesday. So the reported index is 263.07. Now look at some of these locations. Nebraska, 278, 298. Aberdeen, South Dakota, North Dakota, 274, 270 above the index. Dodge City, my hometown where I'm at, 255 on some 798s. There's $100 difference in spread, $150 different spread north to south on this. But I got to highlight that daily total 268.99. That's just a stellar index print here, pulling that index up. So bouncing back a little bit here. But Dodge City, I was anticipating the index to kind of be flat, unchanged, Connor, but it's because of that Dodge City data. But those northern feeder cattle sale auction things up. So
yeah, but then we're seeing choice cutout jump as well.
Yep. Got to talk the cutout here. Choice cutout popped up $4 yesterday on the PM print. The rib is up 652 print on the rib, and Steiner Consulting has this great graphic for us that just highlights the rib primal. It's not a huge percentage of the cutout, but boy, is it on fire as we go into this Christmas holiday. Seasonally, we can see it sell off though after we get past Christmas season. But it's off the charts here. 650 is the top end of Steiner's graphic here that they shared with us Wednesday. We printed a 652 print here yesterday. So the rib primal taking the reins and pulling that cutout higher.
Yeah, well, good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see the seasonal, right? It's walk us through. Let's. I'm going to ask you some layman cattle market questions, right? Because when we walk us through last year, right? When did we see was the sell-off? Did it start Sep-Oc? We kind of saw cattle sell off, and then we saw a rebound around this time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but right, let's compare year on year. One of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, you got a good memory, Connor. September, we kind of rolled over, had some bird flu stuff, and then we had some position type things that maybe fueled the fire. But you get funds bailing out, and then you get some farmers getting squeezed on positions, or just hedge pressure in general. But it just really snowballed, and we had a $59 sell-off September through December. Then we had we rallied back up into January, February timeframe, and then kind of drifted lower into July, and had another $50 sell-off. It's actually a $30 sell-off July to October timeframe, but you added the $20 drift from January to July, and we've seen a $50 range between January and that October. And we've bounced back and recovered a nice chunk of that. And that index is grinding higher. There's not a whole lot of premium out in the deferred months when you look at the October, November contracts for next year. A year ago, we had $15 to $20 premium in those contracts versus the current front end board, and it's very flat. It's actually it's kind of a discount as you drift into May. But yeah, a lot of dynamics going on in cattle, Connor. Big sell-offs, two $50 sell-offs the last 14 months. Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. There's a lot of fundamentals that are supportive on this cattle deal. And we talked about that in the meats premium that we did with Tony here earlier this week. There's a lot of things of bullish rhetoric of reasons to be bullish in the cattle market. But like Joe said before the show, what's the risk? Am I worried about the next $40 higher, or am I worried about the $40 that we could sell off when the funds hit the exit button?
Right. Well, good stuff. Hey, speaking of premiums, I think we had some good ones this week. Yesterday we had Dr. Cruz on where he just talks South America. He his background's in research, right? He's our head of research. He gives a lot of data, puts a lot of things in front of us. And I got to tell you, I got two things, right, I want to highlight from what he said. The first one is he was walking us through Brazil soybeans, right, given his expectations. And so I asked the question, I said, how high, right, what's the upper end of this soybean production in Brazil, right? USDA has them at 169. I said, could we see a 175 million metric ton in Brazil? And he's a nice guy, so he didn't call me an idiot, but he said, no, that's a little too high, Connor. We're probably not seeing anything quite like that. His number was closer to a 172 roughly, right? That's kind of the upper end, right? I go back to when we were talking about trendline corn yield, right? We never had above a 180. Trend yield was what, Brady? 181, 182. Could we see above that? Guess what? The answer was absolutely yes, right? We saw it. Now we'll see if what the final yield number comes in, right? I think they'll hold above 180, but how high? Who knows? They'll tell us in January. Number two that I had is we were talking about Brazil corn exports, right? We know U.S. corn exports. I think we've talked about it every day of this show, right? It's the main marketing headline. But here's the thing is when you look at Brazil corn exports, China really isn't buying Brazil corn either, right? So my question was, what is China doing in terms of corn imports, right? USDA slashed it what, a couple million metric ton.
Mhm.
But that's really, we talked about South America, but to me the story was is that China is not buying corn from anyone, right? They're really pulling back, and a stark difference from last year in terms of how much they bought from Brazil corn. So it's just interesting, when we talk China, we got to admit that they're good traders, right? They know what they're doing, but it's always just a head scratcher.
Yeah, that was a good 30 minutes with Dr. Cruz, and it's one of those that was one of those premiums where I think you got to listen to it twice because there's so much meat in that episode. You guys talked about ethanol and sugar cane versus corn, some of
Yeah.
that stuff as well. Good stuff in that one. You guys, I think y'all upped the game on premium here today with that episode. So you raised the bar,
It's
Connor.
one of these days, we always have a target deadline. It's kind of like this show, right? We always say, hey, we're going to keep it at 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and then we always go over. It's about the same when we're doing premium.
Yeah. But his had so much meat in it. Listening to Dr. Cruz is
Yeah.
just, I mean, he's boots on the ground. He's been there. And I mean, the guy, I don't know how many languages the guy knows. So to be able to, I can barely reiterate what the numbers mean in English, let alone another language. So good
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
I want to review what we did in premium this week real quick, just kind of a rundown.
sure.
Monday we had the pre-WASD marketing corn and beans. We did that kind of positioning ahead of the WASD report. Tuesday, we talked the meats with Tony, talked hogs and cattle, a little bit of grains there. Wednesday, you did the 5 habits of successful marketers. That was a great one as well. And then that one yesterday with Dr. Cruz talking South America. So a
Good
week
stuff.
week of premiums here. And I think this afternoon we'll talk charts and just kind of a weekly roundup on the markets here this week.
Yeah. I think I just thought of this, but next week, I think we need to talk on premium a little bit corn soy ratio, what that could mean for acreage intentions, right? I think now's the time we need to be looking at that. So I just had one. I'm writing that one down, Brady.
Write it down. Write it down. I like it.
Oh man. All
Yeah.
right. That's enough.
Well,
Let's answer. What do we got for questions? And I gotta
dive
get
into a
out of
few of
here.
those. Yeah, Connor's got a. If you guys don't know, Connor is a real estate mogul, and he's got a little Judge Judy stuff going on this afternoon. Fun story you shared with us. Sad story, but it's kind of hilarious too. So
I'm glad you can laugh. So I'm glad you can laugh. Matt, how's Minnesota? Yeah, look at those nice cattle. Always good to see.
Thanks, Matt. Good stuff. Nathan
Russ,
here. Russ,
I
I heard.
heard from.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead. You
I
go.
heard from an analyst yesterday that he expects beans to make a dip today, and then into a check mark first part of next week. Any thoughts? Oh, I like it. Very specific.
Mhm. I don't know where to go with it. The bean market just seems like it's burdensome right now, and I mean, corn and wheat tried this week, but beans didn't really go anywhere, and that $10 level's been just heavy to get through. So
Yeah,
definitely seeing the dip today. We'll see if we get the check mark first part of next week,
yeah.
though.
Overall, when I look at soybeans, you said it, they're heavy, right? We've got South America, right? Big production, not a whole lot of threatening weather, right? That could change, but right now it looks like their crop's pretty good. The only, then we have the wild card of going into 2025. What is our exports going to even look like, right? What are tariffs going to look like? I guess the wild card is, come January, can we see a maybe a reduction in overall soybean yield, right? I don't know if I'm putting all my eggs in that basket, but that's the one that pops up for me. Okay, Russ,
Mhm.
again, several hundred bred heifers sold in Valentine, Nebraska yesterday, averaging 31.50 to 33.50 a head. What do you think, Brady?
That's a good price. Those things, it seems like par for the course here on those bred heifers. And they're expensive. That's what it's going to take to get them. And yeah, if they're any good. Another question here. I saw an LRP quote for 285 next November for a 600-pound steer. Good call out here. What I want to mention on this one is a clarification on LRP because some people can get the wrong expectation on LRP. That 285 number, that is using a 110% price adjustment factor. You're still protecting a 260, 259 level index. It's important to understand that when you buy the coverage, you're not protecting a 285 index. You're not protecting 285 on a 600-pound steer. You're just protecting 600 pounds against a 259, 260 index level. But good stuff. Good offers out there still.
Luke, sounds like some people might need to sow some grass and put up some cheap electric fencing on their soybean ground next year. Here we go, flipping soybeans to cattle. What do you think, Brady?
I love it. The beef market. I love the beef, baby. Let's all be cattle farmers. I love it. It's time for our moment to shine. I saw a meme of what is it, Conor McGregor walking into Christmas strutting the fancy suit and all the bedazzles, and that's how ranchers are going to be coming to Christmas parties this Christmas because of the cattle market.
I love it. Beans burdened by what has been, right?
God.
So
Here we go.
I don't. I say soybeans are heavy, but we got to respect the unknowns in terms of tariffs. But then also, I continue to beat the drum of sustainable aviation sustainable aviation fuel, biodiesel. Right? Can we see some rhetoric? Right? We had the Biden administration said they were going to release something. I don't think they're going to now, Brady. It's going to be up to the new administration, and who knows, right? It's a wild card. I'm saying this because I don't want to always come off as just ultra bearish on soybeans. I think we just got to respect the news that we're getting. Tony,
Yep.
Speaking of that, soybean meal near contract lows. Argentina is looking good. Maybe hard for beans to tug away. Great point. Dr. Cruz gave an update on Argentina as well, right? And really just a story about farming's been really hard in Argentina for 2 or 3 years. Just looking, they had that leafhoppers disease. They've really battled drought. Other thing to keep in mind with Argentina is that we don't talk about Argentina exporting soybeans because they really don't, right? They're the number one meal exporter. They crush almost everything in-house and export the meal. So good point, Tony.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Cool. Well, I know you got things to do, Connor, here. So let's get out of here and wrap up for the week. But to go, one, share us comments, leave a comment, post a question. I want to know what you think of the Farm Act and the farm bailout aid policy that's getting proposed in Washington. Drop us a comment after the show. Tell us what you think about that.
Ooh, I
Connor
like it.
B, you ready to roll out of here?
Let's do it. Everyone have a great weekend.
See you guys.